Hi, Terry Duncan here with Cut, Color, and Create. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to make a card to celebrate Shark Week. We've got a cute little stamp and die set from Lawn Fawn that we're going to use, and we're going to do a little bit of coloring and a little bit of blending. It should be a lot of fun, so let's get started. You can see the stamp set. It's Lawn Fawn Dunna Flip Flop Stamp and Die Set, and they do come separately. So we're going to begin by just stamping a couple of these cute little guys onto a piece of white cardstock. I'm using Neenah Classic Crest 80-pound Solar White. It's got these little fishies, bubbles. I don't know if I'm going to use all those things or not, but and a little fin. I think I'll arrange this so that I can stamp it maybe 4 times. Okay, so first time I stamp it, I'm going to use Versamark because it's a brand new stamp. And somebody taught me that neat little trick that if you use Versamark, it helps condition the stamp. And it works really well. And I don't know if you have to really stamp it the first time, but I always forget what I'm doing and do it anyway. So I should have showed you I'm using Hero Arts Intensified Black. I think they've changed the name of it to just Intense Black if you're looking to buy it. So that made a really nice impression just the first time. And I'm going to move that around, hopefully in the same spot. So we'll set that aside for a while. And I am going to begin with a very light blue. So hopefully you can see that. I'm starting with B0000. And I'll just set that aside so that you can see it. And I'm just going to color the whole shark. Or the top of this shark, I should say. And I'm just going to go ahead and get the fin also. And then I'm just going to do the same thing with all of them. Okay, now I'm going to come in with a darker one. This one is B02. Just adding some shading in. I'm thinking it really needs some gray instead of blue, so I'm gonna switch to C4. Okay, that's my coloring. Now I'm going to die cut out my little sharks and fishes. Wow, isn't he darling? And these little tiny bubbles. Whoops. Shark fin and my goldfish. Okay, I decided what I wanted to do next was blend a background. So I've got a number of Altenew Chris Banks, beginning with the darkest, Galactic Stream, Teal Cove, Aqualicious, and Dewdrops. So I'm going to start with the lightest color and I'm going to do just kind of an ombre effect. So my card is going to be horizontal. I'm just going to turn that over. I've got a waffle flower water media mat that I'm using, and I'm just going to begin blending that onto my cardstock. And what I'm using is Bristol Smooth by Strathmore. Now I'm going to go to Aqualicious. Now this watercolor paper is cut from a 9x12 pad. So I'll be trimming it down to A2 size. our little yeah, I think that's going to do okay. So next I'm going to trim that down so you can see what I'm doing here. Now I like the bottom edge. So I think what I'm going to do, let's just see what happens if we take it to 3 3/4. That will, well, I've got to cut off. Like I said, I like to keep that, as much of that dark as possible. So I've found with this trimmer that you want to go slow. And I've also found that the edge here has kind of a straight place on the edge. So I like to move it up just to one of the lines right above and then hold on tight. So I'm working hard to get it as straight as possible. And then see, isn't that, let me move that so you can see that edge. Isn't that cool? And I think it's just perfect for this card. So just this one, I'm just going to cut. Now, I want this to be 3 3/4. So this one needs to be 5. And there's my colored panel. I'm going to attach that to a white card base. So, and I'm just going to use a glue runner. I'm going to move that back up so you can see. I like to stand up to get up and over what I'm doing. Try to get my head out of the camera. Pass that down. Now I'm going to figure out where I want to put my, I always get excited about what my card's going to look like, and I fasten the layer on, and then I realize I haven't stamped my sentiment. Now I'm going to look at the stamp, and it has a cute little sentiment, have a fantastic day. I think I would have heat embossed that. But being that I've already stuck it down, I don't want to ruin my card panel with heat. So I'm just going to stamp directly on here. A great tool in my toolbox anyway is this transparency grid. And I love to use it, especially in this kind of situation, to make sure that I get my sentiments on straight. So I put it down, even though I haven't glued my little fish and shark, I can put it down right over there so I can remember where I had it. And then I can start to decide where I want to put my sentiment. And I think what I'm going to do is just stamp the Fantastic first. So I have not removed the other stamps, so I'm doing that now. I'm going to go ahead and pick it up with the cover of my MISTI. Now I can just leave those there, really. And again, if you remember my little trick about using watermark ink first, that's what I'm doing. And I am still using the Hero Arts Intensified Black. And I'm just gonna, you don't want to squish too hard with fine lettering like this. And that turned out pretty good. Just gonna stamp it one more time to make it a little darker. I think I'm gonna do it one more time, so a total of 3. Okay, now I'm going to remove that stamp. And the reason why I didn't stamp these all together is sometimes I find that if you just try to put them all together, the way they have them cut, the way they have the stamps cut, prohibits you from getting it as close as you want it. So this one wasn't necessarily that way, but the other one was, the day is. So I just took them both off, and I'm going to put my transparency grid back on. And I'm just going to get that, have a nice and snug right above the Fantastic. And then I'm going to add the day right below. Get my magnet back on there. And that little guy does not want to part. And now, same routine. Versamark, Intense Black, I'm really afraid that's going to kind of sticks up, and I was afraid some of that ink was going to get where I didn't want it. I think it turned out pretty good. And then the last step is to just glue my little shark and fish on. And again, I'm going to use my glue gunner. This time I'm going to use my reverse tweezers to stick him on. The last thing I'm going to do is add some of these little clear drip drops from Tailored Expressions. They have all different sizes, as you can see. And I'm going to use liquid glue to attach them. And I'm going to pick them up with a jewel picker. So let's see. There we go. So there we have it. A cute little shark card to celebrate Shark Week. Thanks for joining me.